Hello friends, what's up? It's Jamie here. Welcome back to another Fangirl Fridays video and part 2 of my Legendborn video. 2 weeks ago, I talked about the premise and the world building of Legendborn, and for today's video, it's going to be all about the characters and what I hope to see in Bloodmarked and the rest of the series. Also, I'm only going to talk about the characters that I actually have something to say about, so if you want my opinion on a specific character that I don't mention in today's video, just leave a comment down below. I'm gonna jump right into the video, so this is your one and only spoiler warning. Be warned, if you have not read Legendborn, this video particularly is going to be very spoiler heavy. So this is your one and only warning to click away if you need to. Now, without further ado, let's get into the video. It feels only appropriate to start with our leading ladies, so first we are going to talk about Bree Matthews, Rootcrafter and Scion of Arthur. I'd like to start with a little silly note that every time Bree was called Brianna in the book, I'd always get caught off guard and I'd be like, who's Brianna? Like, always forgetting that it's her full name. And I don't know why that kept happening to me, because I mean, the only person who like consistently would call Bree Brianna throughout the book is Cell, and he did it out of spite because he's a little shit. And so, but like, it happened often enough that it shouldn't have caught me off guard every single time, but every single time they were like, Brianna, I'm like, who? And I was like, oh, duh. Anyway, Bree has quickly become one of my favorite book protagonists of all time. I love her so much. She's so lovely, she's so smart, and even though she's stubborn, I don't really see that as like being so much as a flaw, because the way I see it, Bree's stubbornness is really just more of just like what she needs to do in order to like keep herself afloat and at times survive. Because while Bree describes after Bree as being like raw and spiteful, honestly, it's just, at least to me, it's very clear that she's just a teenage girl. She's literally only 16, grieving a very heavy loss and just trying to do the right thing. Speaking of Bree's grief, her grief journey is so masterfully conveyed throughout this entire book, and it was so deeply moving to witness. All of the anger and the sadness and the desperate search for closure culminating in the ancestral stream, and getting to see the message that Bree's mom left for her just absolutely gutted me. The ancestral stream in particular was just written in a way that was just so poetic. It was like I was reading like a poetry book, and I've read a lot of poetry books, and so it just like, oh my god, it completely and like deeply fucked me up. I've never read anything like the Ancestral Stream chapter of Legendborn in like a fantasy book before, and Tracy Deonn like completely shattered my brain in the best way possible. Like, it was just, oh my god, it was I don't have the words. It was just incredible. I know Bree is probably deeply traumatized, and rightfully so. There's a lot of shit that happened after everything she learned in this book, after everything that happened in this book, but I'm glad that at the very least that she was able to find some sense of closure with her mom. Something else that I love about Bree is that she's so powerful, and I don't mean in the sense that because she's the Scion of Arthur or because of her rootcraft powers. Like, I mean, obviously because of that stuff too, but she's just so, her ability to be so vulnerable, and I mean, not like willingly at first, like she definitely wants to repress a lot of stuff, like wants to completely avoid her grief, but once she's able to really like acknowledge just like how deeply she's hurting and how deeply her whole like her bloodline from Vera's bloodline, how they've all been hurting and deeply scarred, like, oh my god, it's just, there's a true sense of strength that really comes from all that I deeply, deeply admire Bree for. And she also just has a very strong sense of justice. Like, she will call you out if you are being a racist piece of shit, or just a piece of shit in general. So, what, I didn't say anything. But also, you know, I saw this Reddit post and I wanted to bring it up because I thought it was interesting. So the original poster, who's black, said that they couldn't get into Legendborn because they felt that Bree's character was just, her whole like personality was her calling out racism and microaggressions. Now, I have absolutely zero authority to speak on whether Bree is an authentic Black character, but because she was written by Tracy Deonn, who is a Black woman. Not that that always guarantees perfect representation either. All I will say is this. Is Bree's personality calling out racism and microaggressions, or is she just the only Black person in an overwhelmingly white organization? An organization with a lot of white people who clearly, by the things that they were saying and doing to Bree, do not interact with Black people on the regular. And probably the only contexts in which they do interact with Black people are when they're their fucking cooks or their housekeepers or servants or like whatever, like it was for the fucking, whatchamacallit, the selection gala. Like, it's very clear by the interactions that Bree has with a lot of the members within Legendborn society that, like, many of these people have not interacted with a Black person very often, possibly ever. Again, I am in no way trying to tell actual Black people how to feel about Bree. That's just something that I was thinking about. Anyway, my hopes for Bree going forward is that I hope we get to see her navigating her opposing bloodlines and seeing her learning how to wield her powers equally. Or maybe she won't wield her powers equally. Maybe she'll lean into one side more than the other. Who knows? But I'm very curious to see how that plays out. I want to see what choices she has, if any, in how she's able to use her powers, particularly her Rootcraft powers, because I already know that the fucking Regents are going to be doing some bullshit. I'm just so curious how this is all going to play out, because the Regents, they can't kill the Scion of Arthur, because obviously that kind of messes their whole thing up and like probably dooms the world or like whatever. But they hate Rootcrafters, they kill Rootcrafters. So like, is Bree just gonna have to hide her powers? Are the Regents gonna make her hide her powers so that people don't know that she's half like Rootcrafter? Like, I'm very interested to see how they're gonna handle all of that. And there are just so many other questions. Like, I wonder if Bree is gonna take on a page. Also, like, is her warrior's oath with Nick, like, is that just like null and void now because like she's a Scion and he's a Scion? Like, did that oath ever actually take? Like, what's the deal with that? Like, wait, did they ever actually take the warrior's oath? Did they get to that point? Or did Nick get kidnapped before they could do... Wait, now I don't remember. So maybe they never actually took the oath. But, I mean, regardless, I'm assuming that both Bree and Nick are probably going to need squires. Speaking of Nick, I'm sure that you are probably wondering whether I am Team Nick or Team Cell. We're gonna talk about Nick in a sec, but just so you know, I am Team Nick. Not just in the love triangle sense, but also just because he's my favorite character after Bree. And honestly, I'm also like I'm Team Bree. Like, I just want whatever is best for Bree. Cause I'm gonna be honest, I don't fucking care about love triangles. I don't care for love triangles. I find them to be annoying. If I had like one gripe about Legendborn, it would be that it has a love triangle. I didn't know that there was a love triangle going into Legendborn, and honestly, I'm kind of glad that I didn't know, because I feel like that would have turned me off from the book. And even though I am strongly like Team Nick, I have a history of always picking the wrong choice in the love triangles. I just have a habit. I just have a knack for always backing the person who does not get picked. So I feel like I'm cursed. I feel like because I want Bree and Nick to be together, they're not gonna be together. So sorry about that to my fellow Team Nick people. But even so, Nick Davis, that's my guy. I'm rooting for him. Ultimately, regardless of how the Nick and Cell ship plays out, again, I am Team Bree. I just want Bree to be happy. I just want whatever is best for her. If Bree's happy, I'm happy. All right, next we're gonna talk about my boy, Nick Davis, Scion of Lancelot and Bree's boyfriend. I love Nick Davis, and all of y'all who think he's boring can go suck an egg. I admire so much about Nick. He is such a sweetie considering how he was brought up. He truly has the biggest heart. He went back to the organization that took his mom away and made her forget him and is the reason why his dad abused him his whole childhood. Obviously, I'd like to clarify that no one forced Davis to abuse Nick. He did that all on his own, and I am not gonna make any kind of excuses for that shitbag. So Nick does all that. He goes back to Legendborn Society, all so that a girl that he literally has only known for like 2 days at that point can have a chance at finding out what happened to her mom. Nick has every reason to be angry and destructive because of all the trauma that Legendborn Society has given him, and yet he still tries his best to help people and to be understanding and patient. And that's not to say that Nick isn't flawed. He most certainly is flawed. I'm not going to pretend that he hasn't been abusive to Cell in the past. But the reason why I will defend Nick and will continue to defend Nick unless he does something like irredeemable is because even though he is not a perfect person, even though he can be angry and violent and lash out as we saw with Cell, which by the way, not excusing what happened in their childhood, but I would have beat the shit out of Cell too after he literally tried to get Bree killed. Like, every time I see people bring this up, they're always like, oh my gosh, like, Nick punched Cell even though he knew that he couldn't, like, fight back or defend himself. And, like, yeah, I understand. That is definitely, like, fucked up. However, I feel like in that specific context, I feel like we are very much forgetting that Cell literally tried to murder Bree. Like, he literally tried to kill her. Like, I feel like there's a very crucial detail here, people, that we are overlooking. Like, anyway. So, personally, I feel that in that situation, the punch was warranted. Because, like, if it were me, I would have done much worse. But even with all of his flaws, I can still see Nick as somebody who is still trying to be a good person. And that doesn't mean that he's perfect all the time. That means that he still messes up, but he is still putting in that effort to try to still be a good person. He's trying. And I can't necessarily say that about a certain other person. Also, I love how Nick has always stood up for Bree. He has consistently proven that he will always defend her and that anybody who tries to belittle her or be racist towards her will have him to answer to. And him and Bree are so sweet with each other. Oh my god. I love them so much. They're so cute. It makes me cry. Like, ah! And yes, I can admit that their romantic relationship developed quickly. But it's so clear that they have a real friendship and a real connection that's just, it makes my heart so full. Their first kiss had me giggling and squealing, and I just want for once to have not picked the wrong choice when it comes to a love triangle. Like, please, they're so cute. Oh my god, I just want them to be cute together. But just like I said for Bree, regardless of the love triangle stuff, I just want Nick to be happy. Whatever that means for him. He's been through so much, and I just want him to find some sense of peace, like, please. Also, I would love for him to, you know, not be kidnapped anymore. Please save my boy. Thank you. All right, I guess we have to talk about Cell now. Next, we have Selwyn, Kane, Kingsmage, and Merlin. You can probably tell that I don't particularly like Cell. I've gotten to a place, like, by the end of the book, I can tolerate him, but I spent, like, a solid, like, 3/4 of this book absolutely hating this man. And look, I get it. I know that the dude has a lot of trauma. I see that. I realize that. He's been through a lot. He lost his mom, too, in a pretty traumatic way. He's turning into a monster, like a demon. And you know, the Order is, like, looking for the first sign that he's losing it so that they can toss him out. The guy's got a lot on his plate. I get it. I understand. But, you know, not to be, because I truly have no desire to compare everyone's trauma and determine who has it the worst. But you know who else has a lot of trauma and, like, aren't completely, like, awful people? Bree and Nick. And I understand that his relationship with Nick is very complicated, so I get that he doesn't have a lot of sympathy for Nick. I understand that. But with Bree, him, like, mocking her for having a dead mom, Oh my god, that shit was low. That shit made me so mad. Not to mention, and I'm just gonna say it, that Cell was like borderline racist to Bree throughout almost the entirety of this book until he just decided and he was like, ah, guess you're not a demon. My bad. Because he's supposed to be like one of Bree's love interests, I'm gonna assume that Tracy probably did not intend to like make him like actually racist, but it's just like with the amount of times that he was like to Bree, he was like, you don't belong here. Your kind doesn't belong here. You're a monster. You're a demon. It's like, whoa. It's just like, it's very, I'm sorry, it's very difficult to not consider race when he's saying shit like that, especially because he never once like stood up for Bree when she was being targeted by like the other people in Legendborn society with like them saying like racist or doing racist shit. And it's just like, I mean, I guess it's because he like thought she was a demon and that like, oh, it doesn't matter. But it's just like, ugh. And I don't know, man. Something about Cell hating Bree so much, like literally wanting her dead, wanting her 6 feet under, and then suddenly being attracted to her just feels like really icky to me. Like, did it not feel icky to anybody else? Like, I don't know exactly how to put it, but it just all feels like very gross to me. Like, I don't know. I just feel like say what you want about like Bree and Nick's like relationship being quick, but like, I just feel like there needed to be more of like a transition from Cell like hating Bree to like more of like a friendship with her than like immediately going from hating her to being attracted to her. I feel like that would have made like more sense and made it less icky to me. I don't know. Even though I don't like Cell, I don't particularly want anything bad to happen to him. Like, it would be kind of a bummer if he went full demon or if he like died or something. But I don't particularly want him to end up with Bree either, unless he undergoes like some serious character development. Like right now, I want him to end up in therapy. To be fair though, all the characters in Legendborn need like some serious therapy, just like every single one of them. These kids are so traumatized. Okay, next we're gonna talk about William Sitterson, scion of Gawain and the Southern Chapter's resident healer. I love Will. I love him so much. I love that he does not take shit from anyone. Not Cell, not Nick, not Bree. I don't care what anybody says. William is basically the fucking viceroy of the Southern Chapter because they would all be so fucked without him. Everyone would be dead without William, and I will die on that hill. I also love his friendship with Bree. I love their banter. I love how he kind of like takes her under his wing to teach her about Legendborn stuff. I also love that unlike some people, Cell, Will instantly recognizes that Bree is literally like, I don't know what the fuck is going on, and I'm doing my best, and he is very patient with her for that. He's like to Bree, he's like, listen, I know that you are not telling me the full truth of what it is you're trying to do here, and I don't need to know. I am just going to trust you that you are going to do the right thing, and I think that's a very admirable trait. And even though Will's not particularly like an overly like sentimental guy, every time he was like when he was to Bree, like, thank you for bringing Nick back to us, or like, even though like Cell's an asshole, like he's still my friend, like it just tugged at my heartstrings. I'm like, ah, Will, you're gonna make me cry. I also feel like Will just has like this very good like nurturing personality that you kind of need to have as a healer, or at least it's helpful. But like at the same time, if someone tries to get up when they are supposed to be resting, they've been injured, he's like, I'm gonna give you something to fucking cry about. You get your ass back in that fucking bed. Will's also just like really funny without trying to be. Like, I love it when him and Bree were talking about like scions and squires dating. He's like, listen, like that's cute for y'all. Like, I will support you. I will be happy for you, but I am not trying to be potentially bonded for the rest of my life to a potential ex. And he's honestly so real for that. I wonder if we're gonna get to see like how losing Whitty impacted Will. I mean, I'm sure we will see that to some extent, but I'm very curious if we're going to get like any kind of additional insight into their relationship, because we didn't really get to see Will and Whitty interact that much before Whitty died. And like, I'm honestly very scared for both Will and Felicity. Like, even though I don't really have that much of like an opinion on Felicity, because both of them lost their squires, and because of the Warriors Oath, I can't even imagine just like the toll that has taken on them. Especially because like Russ and Felicity were dating. Oh God, I'm so stressed. I'm very scared, y'all. I just hope that Will is okay. If something happens to Will, Tracy, we're gonna have to have a conversation. Okay, the last character that I'm gonna talk about is Alice Chen, Bree's best friend. Admittedly, because Alice is like absent for the majority of the action throughout the book, and she doesn't really learn about like all the Legendborn stuff until the end, we don't really get to learn that much about her. But like once she did, like once she was like brought up to speed about all the Legendborn shit, and she was like, she was making things happen, I was so excited, because immediately she called out Tora on her bullshit. She's coming up with strategies, like she is on it. Like she is all like, I'm ready to go. I am ready to be a part of all of this, all of this foolishness. And so because Alice knows more about like all the Legendborn stuff now, like I really hope that this means she will be utilized more in Bloodmarked. Ooh, do you think she'll become a page? That would be really cool if she became a page. And honestly, we kind of need them, because we lost a lot of people in this book. It was a fucking bloodbath. We lost Russ. We lost Fitz, Whitty, Evan. I mean, we never really had like Evan, but you know, still. I think it would make a lot of sense for Alice to become a page, because she's smart, she's a quick learner, and I imagine that she's probably gonna want to do more to help Bree. I also hope that we get to see more of Bree and Alice's dynamic in Bloodmarked, because it's very clear that both of them really care about each other, but we didn't really get that many scenes. Like again, once the action really got going, we didn't really get to see that many scenes between Bree and Alice, and I would really just love to see them interact more in the next book. I also really want to see like Alice interact more with like the rest of the Legendborn people, because that shit with Tor was funny as hell. And I want her to put more people in their places, because like Alice, like she knows her shit. Like even though she just learned about Legendborn Society, she already knows her shit. And I love her for it. And also she's just in such a unique position, because she's a once-born, but she doesn't come from a vassal family. Like she doesn't have any kind of like secret tie to Legendborn Society, unless she does, which, oh my God, that would be fucking insane. But I imagine she probably doesn't. I imagine she's just actually like a once-born. But I feel like it's more likely that she'll become a page and integrate into Legendborn Society that way. I was wondering like who she's going to be a page for, and at first I thought Bree, but honestly, I feel like her and Will work together well, and I feel like that would be a really interesting dynamic. And also, again, Will does have, he is in need of a squire, so that would work there as well. Overall, I just hope we get to see more of Alice in Bloodmarked. I feel like Tracy has already like laid the groundwork for her to be a really cool character, and so I want to see her do shit. I want her to get in on the action. All right, that is all I have for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Honestly, I could probably keep going, but for the sake of this video not being like a million parts, I'm gonna stop here. If you have read Legendborn, let me know who your favorite characters are. Let me know if you are Team Nick or Team Cell. I will only slightly judge you if you say Team Cell. Also, I have not read Bloodmarked yet, so if any of you motherfuckers spoil it for me, you will rue the day. I will have words for you, so you better not fucking spoil it for me. If you're gonna talk about Legendborn spoilers or Bloodmarked spoilers, you better fucking mark them, or we will have issues. Also, if you have any fantasy book series that you love, leave them down below in the comments. I would love to see them, maybe get some new recommendations. Though I will say I have absolutely zero interest in reading fucking ACOTAR or Fourth Wing, so just keep that in mind. But if you have any other like fantasy book series that have like a similar feel to Legendborn that you think I would like, comment those down below. Once again, that's all I have for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I upload Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, except when I don't. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.